Hi, I'm Vilmos. I am the designer, creator, and I guess janitor of the AvailsBot system. I'm creating this video as a quick start guide, a way for you to figure out what you got to do now that you purchased the system, and I'm also going to use it for those of you that maybe want to buy the system so you know what it is you're up against. So either you bought this on the blind faith as something that you needed, or you want to find out more, and after you watch this, if you decide to get the service, then you're going to hit the ground running. Either way, we'll see how it goes. I should also tell you I have no script for this, so hopefully we will get through this without too many mistakes. You see here on the screen, standard login screen, nothing really incredible about it. You're on what's called a secure site, so you can be confident that any passwords you send across are going to be encrypted, etc., etc. And your data is fairly safe. It's going to be kind of tough for somebody to break into it. When you first purchase the system, you're going to see this welcome message before you do anything else. It gives you a few clues here. It tells you, I don't want you to use this as a spamming service. It's really not the point of it. I mean, if you think you're going to load 1,000 bookers into this thing and just start hammering them, it's really, you're defeating the point of the service. The service is made to be able to give you the opportunity to generate your message on a customized basis to the bookers and the clubs that you want to work for without having to do it every time. The other thing it's meant to do is it's meant to give you a consistency that we as entertainers seem to lack from time to time for a number of reasons. Number one, when you're traveling constantly, it's tough. Number two, as a creative person, it's really difficult for you to sometimes knuckle down on these kind of black and white things. And number three, sometimes just get frustrated when you've emailed somebody 10 times and they haven't responded to your email. That can be a very mind-numbing and defeating kind of thing. I'd like to think the system takes a little bit out of that, because once you set the letter to them, as long as it's generic enough for that particular person, you can just let it keep running. And eventually, I hate to say this, but eventually they kind of give in. And it's not that you're muscling into anything. It's just that finally you hit them at the right time where they want to look at it. That's what I mean by give in. I don't mean that this is going to force everybody to book you. I just mean that eventually they're going to see your name pop up enough. All right. So the first thing you got to do, as it says here, is go to the defaults page. And when you don't want to see this message anymore, of course, check that box. But this is the main screen that you're going to see every time you go into the system. Now, understand that I'm doing this on a Mac that is not really one of my primary machines. And so it's on a bit of a narrower monitor. Your mileage may vary a little bit. But just to point out a few things, at the top you'll see what version of the service we're on right now. We're on version 2.0. This is important. Do not send is on. This means that nothing is going to be sent until you turn it on. And we will get into that later. But the reason I have this set off is a very simple one. Until you have the system set up, at least in the minimum, it's not worth it for you to try to use it, even accidentally send something, because it's just not going to make any sense. Shows your subscription date. I guess I'm going to have to give myself a few more months soon. The time and date in your local time zone, and your username. This little question mark here is context-sensitive help. No matter where you're at, it should most of the time send you to what you're dealing with. And then a drop-down menu here, which is what we're going to go to first. Because even though this is a wonderful screen, you need to set up the defaults of the system first. And you do that by going to that menu, clicking on it, and selecting defaults. This is the most important part of the system. Now, the defaults are set up very simply for you to be able to talk to somebody that you've never met before or that you have no experience with. So, in other words, use this as your boilerplated language. Now, the first part is your return email information, your name, how you want it presented, and your email address. Not all of us work under our given names. You know, some people. My full name is Vilmos Branyuk. I just go under Vilmos. So putting my last name is not important to me here. So I would put Vilmos in here, and then email address. I use, you know, whatever it is I'm using for my entertainer's address, which can be different than the email address that you registered the system with. The next thing is your subject line, and I should point out that this follows the email itself. Your email is broken up into several sections. The first thing is your subject line, then your greeting, like hello, whatever. Then you have the body of your message, your signature line, your bio, or your avails are below your sig line. That's the format. Now, your subject line for your default avails message, it can be anything you want. It needs to be something that you're comfortable with. Here are my avails. That's pretty simple, wouldn't you say? Maybe we'll put an exclamation point so they know we're happy to send them. And I would like to work for you. For your introduction message and your default greeting. It can be hello, what up, doesn't matter. Do it in another language, I don't care. Whatever works for you, that's fine. Now, when the system sends out two types of emails, it sends out either an avails message or an introduction message. The introduction message, of course, is so that you can search for work with people who don't necessarily want to see your avails. In your default avails message, just put whatever it is you like. Put in there, here, you know, great things are happening. I'm looking forward to coming back. Oop. Back soon. Once you've done that, same thing with the introduction message. I'm a great comic. Please book me. My bio stuff are below my sig line. All right, so we put that in. Next thing we need to do is put in your bio, whatever it is. You can put in your video link here to whatever it may be. Oops. Why am I getting capital H there? HTTP. Okay, so you put in your video link, whatever other references, anything else is you want to say when it comes to that. Your signature line, all the best. There you go. Oh, bomb. All right. The last line has to do with your calendar. There's two different kinds of calendars you can use here. One is a standard, enter the dates and it generates your avails from that. The other is the way you're probably accustomed to doing with your emails, which is just basically a blank sheet of paper where you just type in however it is you want your avails to look like. We'll get into that in a minute. So use the calendar means you're going to enter your dates. Uncheck that box if you're just going to, fill them into a blank window, which will be attached to your message. And the avails, the other two go basically based on whether or not you're using the calendar. If you're not using the calendar, these make no difference. But if you are using the calendar, it tells you how far out you want the calendar to be generated. Your avails to be generated 6 months is what the default is, and do not show weeks open when at least 0 days are booked. Now, I set this at 3 for me because if I got 3 days in a week booked, sure, I'd like to book a few more, but I at least know I'm good there, and I'm filling in around it. So I'm proudly sending out very personal and pointed emails. So the system at that point, while I can use it to do that kind of stuff, I don't necessarily need to put anything else in it. Once you save that, then really you can probably start sending things into the system at this point, and you could shut off this do not send part. But let's go to, let's just do a couple other things. We'll go to your Avails, and just so you can see what I'm talking about, that's what it looks like when you're using the calendar. If I go in here and I turn the calendar off, and I go to Avails, you'll see it's just an empty sheet, and you can type in whatever you want there. It's really your choice, in all fairness. But I would tell you that the calendar works really well. It's a calendar that I've been using for my clientele and my web applications that I design. It's very simple to use, and the beauty of it is, you know, everything drops off as it goes. You never have to edit it. As long as you put your shows in here, you're all set. And putting a show in is like no big deal. You click on the add button, you select the date. So let's just go 9. Let's go to 9/12, and then we'll go back to 9. Ooh, I have to work on the width there a little bit. 9/12 to 9/15. Well, of course, we're appearing at the Chuckle Hut, and you know, then you can go. You can put in more or not more. You can put in a web link here, and I'm going to put one in just to illustrate another small feature of the system. I'll just put in my website. And then description. This can be for you, or this calendar can actually be populated. Will populate your own website, and I'm going to show you how that works. So I click on Save. Now you'll see that I have the venue and the dates right there. The pencil allows me to edit something. All right. And I'm not going to get into that right now. This allows me to delete, and little world here, if I click that, see, it takes me to my website. Look, it's an ad for me. But if you take a look here, and this is what I want to show you. If you go to this, you will see that this calendar is actually generated directly off of my calendar on in the AvailsBot program. I use it every day. So these are some of my dates in here, and you can see this is automatically dynamically updated. The comment part, that shows you something when you highlight it. But you know, if you want to link it to your website, it's a small additional charge, but well worth it, and I think it makes things a lot easier. So now we have dates in, and you can do these dates as pretty much as far in advance as you need to. And then if you need to delete them, they're very easy to modify as well. Now that we have defaults in there and we have dates in there, we can go ahead and turn ourselves back on, and that's done under the account. And on the account menu, basically it shows you when you're going to expire. You can change your information, your registered email address. And right here, this is do not send emails. This is also a quick and dirty view of how many emails you've sent out on your behalf. But we just click on start. Now we're set to send. Message goes away. Now anything we put in the system, it's going to go. All right, so let's go to the bookers. This is the screen you're going to spend the most time in. You'll see down at the bottom how many records you have in the system total, how many are active, how many are inactive, when your next send is scheduled, and then how you'd like them ordered. Now, just really quickly, you have basically two statuses as far as bookers are concerned. You have active and inactive. Active means exactly what it says. If a message is scheduled to go, it's going to go, regardless of where you're at, what you're doing, because you don't have to have this thing running on your computer to have it work. It's working for you even if you're on a plane going between cities or driving in your car. It doesn't matter where you're at. This runs off of the web. It's what's known as a cloud-based system. Inactive means, very simply, it's not going to send, even if you have it scheduled. So if you, for some reason or other, have somebody scheduled for to go on September 10th at 10 o'clock, it's not going to go unless it's set to active. If you set it on inactive, it's just going to pass that time. No big deal. Now, let's go ahead and add a record real quick. Now, it's very simple, very simply put, since we already have our defaults in there, all we really have to do is, put in the name and the email address and set a time. So let's just go ahead and put in a club name. And it shows here we'll set it to active. You can also do here, you can go to set to inactive after the next blank sends. This is helpful, maybe not necessarily in getting work or sending avails, but there are times when if you put a number in here, like if I put the number 2 in here, after it sends this message twice, it's just going to automatically set it to inactive. So there are some reasons to have timed contacts like this, and I can get into those with you later. How many times you've sent to this particular club or booker, what type, we're going to select an intro. Frequency, you have to have a minimum of 7 days here. I don't want somebody going out there bombing somebody every day. Minimum of 7 days. Maximum, there is no maximum. You can put in whatever number you want. Generally, I have found that people are sending in increments of 7, 14, 21, 28. 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever it is. 180 days to 6 months, kinda. Because remember, we're dealing with the number 7 here. But I will tell you that, the sweet spot seems to be somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks. Now, I would tell you that do whatever you want. If you know somebody that needs to have your email every Tuesday, then send it to them on Tuesdays and set this frequency at 7 days. But if you want it to move around in order to catch their attention, go 1 day over whatever the standard period is. You'll see that I put in 22 days. The reason I put in 22 days is because if I put in 21 and I set this for August the 30th, which is, I believe, a Friday, it's going to send every Friday, which is probably the worst day of the week, by the way, to send to any booker an email. That's always their go time. However, it would do that every Friday. Now, since I sent it to 22 days instead of 21, the first time it is going to send it on that Friday. But the next time, it's going to send it on a Saturday. And after that, a Sunday, a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday. So you see, it allows you to move it around a little bit. Time of day I felt was important. And the reason I feel it's important is it's something that is, by the way, your time of day. In other words, if you signed up and I'm on the central time zone, this is central time, not the time zone of the person you're sending it to. So I think the sweet spot for sending somebody an email is in the morning, but not real early. I like 10 o'clock. So if I'm sending somebody on the East Coast, I set it for 9 o'clock my time. If I'm sending it to somebody on the West Coast, I set it to noon my time. And really, you just pretty much set it by, clicking the buttons, and you're familiar with that. Then I put in the person's email, and I'll just put in an email address that I'm familiar with, and the booker's name. And now that we've got that in, really, this is all you need to send. And if you're going to send it, we'll just click on the save button. Now we take a look, and you'll see that everything's ready to go. It tells us when it's going to send it. You got 4 icons here. Pencil edits, the X deletes. This shows you green means active. If I click on it, it changes to red, which means it's inactive. And you'll see that there's an I there. That means it's an introduction email. And I click on that, and voila, it shows you what your email is going to look like. All right, so reactivate this. Click on the pencil here. Here's what happens, and here's where the beauty of the system comes in. You deal with every booker a little bit differently if you already know them. If you don't know them, you're just going to have to go with your defaults and hope that your message is good. But if you happen to know somebody, you can change things around a little bit. Like you can go in here and you can say, hey man, why aren't you working me? If you've got that kind of a relationship, you can put that kind of subject line in there. Just like you can say, hey, dumbass, instead of hello, evil, which is what it would say. Now, notice also I don't have this checked. If I don't check this box, that's not going to change. But I check them both. And the other thing is, if I want to modify my message to either one of them, I would put it in here and check the message. The other thing is, if I'm sending an introduction letter and I want to include my Avails with it, I can just check that box. And same thing with an Avails message if I want my bio. The other thing is include nothing, email only. Now, this is where I find the system particularly handy. You can actually set it up so that you can send confirmations of your dates. So in other words, if you're bad about checking in with clubs 2 weeks before, you can set this as soon as you get your date with a club 2 weeks before, or whatever you consider to be a normal period, or whatever it is they want. Set it for that, put it under introduction and say, hey, I'm just checking in with you, coming in on blank, blank, blank date. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Let me know if you need anything. Bye. And you check that box, and that's where this up here, set to inactive. Set your inactive to 1, it sets it inactive so it doesn't send them that letter every 3 weeks for the next 6 months until you figure out it's doing that. And by the way, you would know that it was doing that from the weird emails you get back from the booker. And the other thing is the system does send you a report daily that tells you who it's sending mail to. And I would like to think that even in the haze that we as entertainers live in from time to time, we would recognize that we had to put that in there. Now, the other thing is, I also use this for thank you letters. When I get to the gig, a lot of times, as long as something doesn't blow up, I'll put something together right when I get in that says, hey man, really enjoy being here. Thanks a lot. Great time. Looking forward to coming back. And then I set it for the Monday after I'm done. So I'll be driving home. This thing's still sending out my thank you letter anyway. Down here you got your notes, whatever it is you want to put in there about the person to track things. And I'm going to set this for the 25th. I'm going to set it for today. And I want to show you one other thing that it'll do. And let me set it for the 26th, actually. All right. And I save it. Now you'll take a look. You'll notice it's green now. The reason it's green is because that's going to send within the next 24 hours. You got a little bit of color coding into the system. If you see it is in red, that means that it's been scheduled for a time that has already passed. Green means next 24 hours, within the next 24 hours. Blue is between 25, well, anything over 24, but less than 48 hours. And then there's a maroon that's anything over 48 hours, but not more than 72 hours. After that, they're all black, unless they're set to inactive, and they're gray. All right, so we made those changes, right? So we click on the eye now, and look what it says. Hey, dumbass, I'm a great comic. Please book me. And hey, man. Oh, good, I misspelled hey. So I can go back and fix that. That's the value of the system right there. You can check it. So I go back there. Let's change ourselves to let's change that to an Avails, just so you can see what the calendar actually looks like. So I think that's kind of an important thing. So, oops. All right, we'll click that and save it. Since I already seem to click something else. All right, there we go. So now it's set to, did I not save that and exit? See, I told you this wasn't going to be perfect. Let's go to Avails, and let's go down here. And now you can take a look at the Avails. There's what they look like, and you'll see that week is out because I had set it for 2. All right, that's it. Nothing more about service I can show you. You can find out anything else you need to know at AvailsBot.com. Thank you.